We're back with part 4. How is flipping dynamics engineered?
I think, flipping dynamics it's not something that can be engineered like how maybe a car handles a turn per se, or how well I don't know, an airbag works when it hits impact. You can get hard data on that. When it comes to flipping, everyone can easily argue that's very subjective, and it is something that really only comes through doing a lot of flipping and knowing exactly what you want a knife to do and how you want a knife to perform under the various circumstances, when it's in the air, when it's rotating, when it's flipping vertically, horizontally. It really just comes down to experience. And basically what you have engineered into the Alpha Beast and the Replicant is literally just years and thousands of hours of me and Ed doing our own flipping and getting our own feedback, but also taking feedback from the community on why did someone like knife A and why did someone not like knife B? Was it the length of the handles? Was it the weight? What kind of weight do people want? What are people, where does heavyweight impede on things, and where does lightweight help things, and vice versa? It's taking all of that and then trying to do your best. It's I would call it math, but it really boils down to almost like an innate feel for how something should be, and that's really flipping dynamics. It's like a combination between science and just pure innate gut feeling.
I think people are flipping more and differently and harder and putting more on this equipment than they have before. And while we took a lot of the things that we like about knives and tried to really substantiate them into one product, like I said, we're bringing more Valley Songs to market, so we get a chance to also try and with Replicant, now we're putting out a product that is G10 with a scale, and so we're really trying to experiment with that, and what that feels like, and how to make that the best flipping product that we can. I don't, is there a secret to it? Is there, I don't know, just like some people, would ask, how do I get good at flipping? It's like by flipping forever and ever and just flip all the time, and invariably you get good. How do you make great Valley Songs designed for flipping? You flip all the time. That's just pretty much what's up. It's kind of like you could give it as standard of an answer as practice is given when someone asks how to get good at flipping.
One thing that I always liken it to is that when you have a Formula One driver or a Grand Prix, a GP motorbike, there's two elements to that. There's the rider, and then there's the engineer. And you have to have both. You can't have just one. The rider doesn't know how to build the bike, and the engineer doesn't know how to ride. So he'll never ever know what that bike feels like when it's being ridden hard. And the rider will never know how to make a motor that's going to put out 260 horsepower. You kind of have to have both, and I think that's where the dynamic kind of mixes with flipping. You need the flipper, but then you also need kind of the math and the understanding of all the geometry behind it.
Right. Like, who's hot right now? Like, okay, some of the bomb, Nardap, Stu, God, there's so many people that I would want to shout out. It's crazy. Wiggums, Jay, like lots of dudes out there, right, that can do amazing stuff. And can you put a CCC in their hand, and can they still make it just fly? People who can't flip at that level would have their just jaw agape, regardless of whether or not you put an alpha in their hand or whether you put, some
is like going back to my analogy with the driver in the race car. The driver is the one who's going to take it around that turn at 150 miles per hour. He's the one who's going to say, you know what, the suspension felt a little stiff on this side, or the engine didn't quite kick in where I wanted to out of this turn. But you need someone at that level of skill to be able to tell that, and then you need to be able to translate whatever it is to make your product give that feedback and perform in that particular way. And again, it goes back to just flipping knives. If for instance, if any of those great flippers that Lucy just mentioned were to say, you know what, this knife is good, but it just felt a little bit top heavy or back heavy, or there wasn't enough weight here or there, he and I, we know immediately what that feels like. And that just comes from hours and hours of manipulation